Hidden Hell. North Korea operates a system of political prison camps that remain some of the harshest detention facilities in the world. These are not ordinary prisons, but sprawling compounds, often hidden deep in mountainous regions, where entire families can be imprisoned for generations. The official policy of guilt by association means that if one person is accused of disloyalty to the regime, their parents, children, and even grandchildren can be sent to these camps. Prisoners are subjected to forced labor under brutal conditions, such as mining, farming, or logging with little to no food provided. Malnutrition is widespread, and many inmates die from starvation or overwork. Surveillance inside the camps is constant, and punishments for minor infractions often involve beatings, torture, or execution carried out in front of other prisoners as a deterrent. International human rights groups have described these camps as places of slow-motion execution, where people are deliberately worked to death. Satellite imagery has confirmed their existence, showing expanding compounds and security perimeters, despite North Korea's denial. Testimonies from escapees have revealed harrowing details, including secret crematoriums used to dispose of bodies, making these camps one of the darkest and least visible aspects of the regime's control. Public terror. Public executions remain a tool of control in North Korea, designed to instill fear and enforce obedience. Citizens, including children, are often forced to attend these events, which are staged in schoolyards, sports fields, or marketplaces. The crimes punishable by execution range from political dissent and attempted defection to much smaller infractions such as stealing food, watching South Korean television, or owning a Bible. Methods vary but include firing squads and, in some cases, hangings carried out in front of large crowds. Defectors have reported that families of the condemned are required to witness the executions, further magnifying the psychological impact. Some reports describe executions with heavy weaponry, such as anti-aircraft guns, though these accounts are harder to independently verify. Beyond the public displays, there are also secret executions carried out in prisons and labor camps, with little to no record of the deaths. These killings are not simply punishments, but serve as constant reminders that disobedience, however minor, can be fatal. International human rights organizations have repeatedly condemned these practices as clear violations of international law. Yet the executions continue to be used as a deliberate tool of terror to maintain the regime's absolute control. Watched lives. North Korea enforces one of the most intrusive surveillance systems in the world, designed to eliminate any possibility of dissent. Every citizen is monitored through a network of neighborhood informants, local party officials, and state security officers. People are required to attend regular self-criticism sessions, where they must confess supposed mistakes and also report on the behavior of family, friends, or co-workers. Failure to denounce others can itself be viewed as disloyalty, creating a culture of fear and suspicion that breaks down trust within communities. Homes are subject to surprise inspections to check for banned materials, such as foreign books, radios, or South Korean films. Phone calls and even casual conversations are often monitored, and anyone caught expressing doubt about the regime can face imprisonment or execution. The government also uses public propaganda loudspeakers and mandatory portraits of leaders in every household to reinforce ideological loyalty. Children are taught to spy on parents and classmates, ensuring surveillance begins from an early age. This system ensures that no act of resistance can easily spread, since potential critics are isolated and silenced long before they can build networks. It is surveillance not only of actions but of thoughts, maintained through constant fear of betrayal. Sealed minds. Access to outside information is one of the most tightly controlled aspects of life in North Korea. The regime restricts newspapers, television, and radio to state-approved channels that glorify the leadership and portray the outside world as dangerous or collapsing. Foreign media is banned, and owning smuggled items such as South Korean dramas, Western films, or foreign books can lead to imprisonment or execution. Radios and televisions are manufactured with sealed tuners locked to official frequencies, preventing people from accessing international broadcasts. The internet is almost entirely unavailable to ordinary citizens. Instead, they have access to a closed intranet called Kwangmyong, filled only with propaganda material and limited educational content. To further isolate citizens, travel within the country requires special permits, making it difficult for information to spread between regions. Despite these controls, some smuggled flash drives, DVDs, and memory cards enter the country through the Chinese border, carrying films, news, and even basic Wikipedia-style knowledge. Possessing this material is considered a serious crime, and crackdowns are frequent. The regime views control of information as vital, since exposure to the outside world could reveal the stark contrast between North Korea's propaganda and reality, threatening its absolute grip on power. Vanished voices. One of North Korea's most hidden and disturbing practices has been the abduction of foreign citizens. Starting in the 1970s, North Korean agents systematically kidnapped people from countries such as Japan, South Korea, China, and even parts of Europe and the Middle East. Victims included ordinary citizens, fishermen, and students, but also specialists like language teachers who could be used to train North Korean spies. The purpose of these abductions was multifaceted. Some victims were forced to teach culture and language to operatives who would later infiltrate other countries, while others were coerced into marriages to help expand the population under controlled conditions. In Japan alone, the government has officially recognized at least 17 abducted citizens, though independent estimates suggest the true number could be in the hundreds. Many victims vanished without explanation, leaving their families with decades of uncertainty. North Korea has admitted to some abductions but insists the majority of the cases are fabricated. Despite this denial, international investigations and testimonies from defectors provide overwhelming evidence of state involvement. Some abductees remain in North Korea to this day, living under strict monitoring, cut off entirely from their home countries. This campaign of kidnappings remains one of the regime's least acknowledged crimes. Starved nation. In the mid-1990s, North Korea experienced a devastating famine often referred to as the Arduous March. It was triggered by a combination of economic mismanagement, natural disasters, and the collapse of Soviet support after the Cold War. The state-run food distribution system, which most citizens relied upon, collapsed almost overnight. As a result, millions of North Koreans faced acute starvation. Estimates of the death toll vary widely, but most researchers believe between 2 and 3 million people perished. Ordinary citizens resorted to eating tree bark, grass, or foraged roots just to survive. At the same time, the ruling elite and the military were prioritized for food supplies, highlighting the regime's policy of military first, even as civilians starved. The government refused most international monitoring of aid, fearing exposure of its failures, and diverted much of the food assistance it did receive to army stockpiles or elite families. Reports from defectors describe entire villages left empty, corpses on the streets, and parents abandoning children because they could no longer feed them. The famine was not just a natural disaster, but the result of deliberate policies, making it one of the darkest man-made tragedies in North Korea's history. Iron Army. North Korea maintains one of the world's largest standing armies relative to its population, and this emphasis on militarization is central to the regime's survival. Known as the Songun, or military first policy, the armed forces receive priority access to food, fuel, and resources, even during times of famine. Military service is mandatory for most men, often lasting more than 10 years, and women are also increasingly conscripted. Conditions for ordinary soldiers are harsh, with poor nutrition, outdated equipment, and brutal discipline common. Yet the state invests heavily in certain strategic programs, particularly nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, to deter outside intervention and to gain leverage in international negotiations. Beyond combat roles, the military also plays a role in construction projects, farming, and even domestic surveillance, making it deeply embedded in everyday life. The regime uses massive parades, weapons displays, and propaganda to project the image of a powerful army despite underlying weaknesses. Defectors report that many soldiers suffer from malnutrition and resort to stealing food from civilians. Nonetheless, the military remains the backbone of the leadership's control, both as a deterrent against foreign threats and as an internal force to suppress dissent and maintain absolute loyalty to the regime. Elite divide. North Korea operates on a strict social hierarchy known as the Songbun system, which categorizes citizens based on their family background, loyalty to the regime, and perceived political reliability. At the top of this hierarchy is the elite, including high-ranking party officials, military leaders, and loyal families, who enjoy privileges such as access to quality food, healthcare, education, housing, and even luxury items imported from abroad. They are often insulated from the hardships faced by ordinary citizens and can travel more freely within the country. In stark contrast, the general population suffers from chronic shortages, malnutrition, poor medical care, and limited educational opportunities. The state deliberately channels resources toward the elite to ensure their loyalty and secure the regime's survival, while the lower classes are kept dependent and isolated. Defectors report that this disparity extends to daily life, including the ability to obtain electricity, fuel, and clothing, which is largely determined by one's Songbun status. The gap is so extreme that entire regions and villages are effectively excluded from development projects and basic state support. This systemic inequality reinforces control by creating a stark visual and material divide, making compliance with the regime both necessary and unavoidable for survival. If these dark secrets showed you how North Korea controls its people, wait until you see how it keeps them endlessly busy. The next video exposes the most useless jobs in the country. Roles so absurd they exist just to maintain the illusion of order. Subscribe now, and let's pull back the curtain on North Korea's strangest daily life.